won't, but you'll remember from Wednesday's programme that I was reporting via Patrick, who'd sent in some footage of an event he attended in London on Monday to do with the Sumud flotilla. And Sumud, of course, we should point out, meaning the Arabic word for perseverance. Now, I'm pleased to say that Patrick has a lot more on this for today's programme. So that's where we're going to begin today. Patrick.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, it was just really a rally for, the Handela had just been, this was the Gaza flotilla, had just been seized by the Israelis. We'll bring that up on screen so people see the boat again. But the part of the Gaza Freedom Flotilla, they had the Madeleine, which was also apprehended a few months ago. The crew was kidnapped and abused by the Israelis. They were all released. The whole crew of the Handela, I think, is safe now, as far as I'm concerned. There might be one or two other exceptions to that, but we'll get clarification on that. But they had a press conference in London, and it was really kind of to bring the press in, to give them more information about what's coming, and also just to hear some of the testimonies of one of the members of the Handela was there. Tiago, had a chance to speak to him as well. But some of the other people who are there, Human Rights Watch, and also an MEP from Dublin. So this was very revealing. So we have a video report which will show you from this event, and we'll have some of the statements in there, and we'll speak a little bit about what the content of that is afterwards. But let's go ahead and watch this.
Governments must end all complicity, must stop arms, and in fact must impose an arms embargo, a comprehensive arms embargo on Israel immediately.
The situation that we are seeing unfolding in Gaza is the extermination of the Palestinian people. What makes this specific and unique is the fact that this is being carried out by an ally of Western governments. It's being carried out by a state that calls the United Kingdom, the EU, Canada, Australia, a friend. And that is one of the things that clearly distinguishes this situation from others. But obviously, the fact that it is extermination of a people raises it to the level of one of the greatest atrocities that can be committed by a state and by its officials.
We were on the Madeleine on a mission with 12 people, with food, with medicine, with crutches, with baby formula, with a lot of things like water filters to try to do the obvious things. When we see a genocide, the 8 billion people that see children being starved to death, they know that is wrong. They want to help, they want to bring them food. When they see hospitals, shelters, schools being bombed, children being burned alive, they want to stop that, and that's why we went.
I think that the swift action you've seen, as you say rightly, illegal occupation by Russia, but it's two militaries against each other, and we've seen very quick action by the EU, and I think that that's where now the people across Europe are saying the double standards is so blatant, and the level of frustration from us politicians who are, all we're asking for is international law to be upheld. Like, that's the bare minimum we're asking for, is that the same standard is applied to Israel as applied to any other country in the world. It's not going to happen at the EU. I've been back in the European Parliament a year now. I'm the chair of the delegation for relations with Palestine, and I've repeatedly said you will not get a consensus at the EU level. So therefore it is not just the legal thing that a member state does, but it's also the morally right thing to do, that they take unilateral action. So Ireland has had this bill called the Occupied Territories Bill since 2018. It passed all stages in our Parliament, but it was blocked by the Irish government for years. The campaign to reignite that bill, obviously since 2023, has now gotten to the point where we're almost ready now for the government to enact it. But I really do believe that if Ireland shows that courage, and let's not forget, this is just to enact the ICJ ruling of July 2024 that the proceeds of crime from illegal settlements should not be sold, that if we do that, it'll be the first domino that will fall. We know other member states are watching very closely what Ireland is doing. They then hopefully would follow suit, and then what happens is that the house of cards comes down in terms of Israel's impunity, because first we go after the illegal settlements, then we go after the preferential trade, the arms embargo, the sanctions, all of the tools that politicians have that they could be doing today. But I honestly believe if that first crack happens, other countries will be emboldened to take action as well.
So that was really the question I had for Lynn Boylan. There was, how come no EU countries stepping forward to sanction Israel? And Ireland was the closest. Yeah. But what's holding Ireland back? That's an interesting question. And her answer to that surprised me. What's holding Ireland back, the pressure coming on Ireland not to sanction Israel, is not coming from Brussels, Charles. It's coming from somewhere else. Listen to this.
And that's why you see such pressure coming on Ireland, particularly from the US, because of our long-standing relationship with the US. IPAC are pumping huge amounts of money into taking out op-eds in very high-profile newspapers. They are ramping up their politicians that are IPAC are supported by IPAC, sponsored by IPAC, and getting them to call Ireland anti-Semitic, to challenge Ireland's bill. But the reason why they're doing that is because they know this will be the downfall. The House of Cards will collapse if Ireland takes this action, and that's why we have to hold fast. I mean, we have a lot of foreign direct investment in Ireland, a lot of major companies. This bill, though, would only affect 2 or 3 companies, but it's the Israel are no fools. They know the consequences of this bill passing means there's a domino effect, and that's why they're ramping up the pressure. They know Ireland's weak point is the link between the US, our long-standing relationship with the US, and that's why they are getting US politicians to do their dirty work and to try and keep the pressure on the Irish government. We know under the Biden administration that the ambassador to Ireland contacted our government and warned them of consequences if this bill was enacted. We know that our former finance minister, and now again current finance minister, he also gave commitments to Israel that this bill would never see the light of day. So this pressure is real, it's not imagined, and I think that for the government, they tried to withstand it for so long, withstand enacting the bill, but the people power and the pressure they're under now from the public means they have to do the right thing. Because we're being told that if we do this bill, that American companies will have to comply with America's anti-boycott, anti-sanctions laws. Our argument back is, well, one, there's only 2 or 3 companies that are involved, because most companies don't actually do business in occupied territories because they know it's toxic. But 2, that this is not Israeli land, so it can't be a boycott of Israeli products because this is Palestinian land. This is the proceeds of crime that Israel are committing by illegally occupying Palestinian land, and therefore it cannot be called a boycott of Israeli products. So the legal arguments are on our side, we know that, but the pressure is very real. It is coming from the US predominantly, but it's people power that have forced this bill to the point where it is now, where we've got a committee to recommend full ban on trade.
So they're very close. It's just a question, like she said, like Lynn said, the domino needs to fall. And the first domino is the Occupied Territories Bill, which has been held up forever there. But Yasmin Ahmed, the UK director of Human Rights Watch, made an important point we didn't include because of time. But she said in 1982, Margaret Thatcher, she put a full arms embargo on the state of Israel for their aggression in Lebanon. So if Margaret Thatcher can do it, why can't Keir Starmer do it, Charles?
I think this is it. This is the question that will have bamboozled absolutely anybody, certainly anybody that's been watching UK Column over the last couple of years. But it's it's very interesting. You watch a meeting like this. It is quite clearly it's not a fringe issue. It's not a minority concern, and you listen to the language that's used by people who in fact don't have this agency. The words like must, governments must do this. And of course, on the other side, I mean, only this morning, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office were tweeting out about aid that must get in, that they must be given access to it. And yet they, in effect, have it within their gift to enforce that and don't. And we hear about the prospect of using military intervention, military force here, there and everywhere, but not in this particular situation. I'm not, of course, advocating for throwing more volatile content into that kind of an environment, but it is quite pathetic to hear people commentating from the sidelines, albeit that they are actually at the epicenter in the political arena, but they will do nothing.
Yeah, they'll do nothing. So we'll wait and see. Now, some people are doing something, Charles, and one of those countries is Slovenia. Just briefly, we'll bring this up on screen here. This is the latest in Europe, and this is Slovenia becoming the first EU country to ban arms trade with Israel. That is a full arms embargo against Israel. So just as we speak, this story breaks really over the last couple of days. So that's interesting. This comes on the heels of this, also from Slovenia. Slovenia bans Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, two of the most not so savory people walking the earth at the moment, from entering their genocidal for their statements that they made against Gaza. So that's interesting. So Slovenia has broken the door down here. And just on that note as well, Canada, who's been, virtue signaling about recognizing a Palestinian state this week. Well, as we revealed here in this report just filed yesterday, Canada's uninterrupted flow of arms deliveries to Israel through various third parties and back channels. So all of the details are there. But here's the real scam that is going to take place. Now take a look at this. This is very important to realize here. This is the new two-state solution push. Okay, everybody's on board now with the two-state solution. Finally, after so long of just abandoning anything because Israel didn't want it. But if you look at the details in here, it's quite damning. And we go into all the basic plans, and what they're trying to do is turn the Gaza into the West Bank. They're trying to West Bankify the Gaza Strip. And this is really the most important part. It's in the headline here from Frustration magazine. Love the title of that magazine here. Why does France want to recognize a demilitarized Palestine? So it's, again, have a trustee police force like the PA, the Palestinian Authority, under a puppet leader like a boss, or ruling over Gaza. So Israel in fact, Israel retains bigger control over Gaza in this new two-state solution that they're proposing. So it's basically, you can have a state in name, but zero sovereignty. And what this does is it brings negotiations back to square one again. And Israel's perfected this negotiation strategy for the last 40 years. They're brilliant at it. They know exactly, They run rings around the Western politicians. They've been doing this for a long time. They know exactly how to bring it back to zero while they change facts on the ground. And this is how we got to this point in the first place. Yeah. And I do not see anybody willing to basically put their foot down and call this for what it is. And that's my fear, is that all this push for a Palestinian state, I think, is just completely hollow. And this could actually get canned at some point in the next couple of months, because they'll say, well, the facts on the ground have changed and we can't do that anymore. And that'll buy them another year. That's kind of where we're at.
I'm sure you're right. And certainly there'll be no interrogation of what you've just been describing by the mainstream media. So,
and you covered this amazing whistleblower from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, Mr. I think Anthony Aguilar is his name. He did another interview with an American podcaster here, or a gentleman here, which has gone viral on X. And the opening gambit, Charles, is quite something. Listen to this.
Very explicitly, directly to my face, that our client is the IDF.
Your client is the IDF.
Our client is the IDF. and this came out in a discussion once where I was in the control room. I was on I was on control room duty that day. We had shifted responsibilities on a rotational base. So I was in there that day with the radio observing site number 2 distribution. A Palestinian man had picked up some children to let them step on his shoulders to get onto a berm because they were being crushed in the crowd. Site 2 is very small, smallest of all 4 sites. And these children are being crushed, and he picked them up there and put them up on the berm. And the Israeli Defense Forces liaison officer in the main control center with us comes up to the screen that I'm watching, and he says, "Tell your men to get them down." I was like, "We got this under control." I was like, "I know they know what they're doing. No, they're children. Let's calm down. Get them down now, or I will." Well, there's no IDF on the site, so I didn't take it as much more than just being, bombastic and like, okay, like, hey, we got this. He leaves and goes to his desk in the operations center, and he gets on the radio and he speaks something on the radio. It was in Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. One of the contractors that was there was American that did speak Hebrew, and he notifies me. He said, "Hey, he just told the snipers at the IDF position, because the site number 2 is co-located with an Israeli base." He said, "He just told the snipers to take these kids out." I was like, "On the radio?" He's like, "Yeah."
I mean, do you need to hear any more? So Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, one of the mercenaries there, a decorated Green Beret, and probably who was pro-Israel before this assignment, not anymore. And what he said there, his client was the IDF.
Yeah.
His client was the IDF. I mean, that to me was quite a bombshell, and it really just kind of takes the mask off this whole fraudulent humanitarian operation that they're trying to pass off as trying to feed the Palestinians. It's just unbelievable.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been plenty of whispering about that, but to hear it said out loud like that is perfectly staggering. Patrick, thank you very much indeed for that. And we will, of course, discuss further what you've been dealing with in